Welcome to People Love Process. Now, as you know, this movie is now our sixth episode of Over the Shoulder Vector Building. This is where I take recycled work that I never actually use, mostly from client projects, because there's a lot of directions I want to develop, but I don't always develop all of them, or the project shifts and goes in a different direction. So you see me looking over here because the only part of any videos I create, whether for YouTube or for my courses on LinkedIn Learning, is that I do script the intro and outro just so it's buttoned up and it sounds good. So when I'm looking over here, that's why I'm doing that. So again, remember, this series is recorded raw, and except for the intro, unrehearsed. I don't really rehearse that. I just type it out ahead of time. So you'll see the good, the bad, and the ugly side of the creative process at times. And in that case, it's realistic. Nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. I screw up even when I'm following methods I've been doing for years. Illustrator is such a program that at times it can be even frustrating for me, and I've been using it for over 20 years now. So at times that can be unfortunate, but it is what it is, so you just have to go with it. For this specific movie, I'll take an unused sketch from a real-world project. It was for a craft brewery, and this was one of the sketches that I was initially going to create, but I ended up changing my mind and doing something slightly different. But there's nothing wrong with this one either, so I want to build it out because it has some methods in it that aren't like, I don't know, just methods I figured out how to create certain content, and I think you might find it interesting. Now, what you see in front of you here is some of my initial sketches. Now, the one they ended up going with was a different sketch, so I don't have that in here. But the theme was a ram because the craft brewery, it was for Hellsbach beer. Now, I'm not a big beer guy, so it's like a German lager, type black lager or something like that. And they always use a ram to represent that type of drink for whatever reason. I should have probably looked into the history of that, but I didn't. And that's what they wanted, a ram on there. So these were some of the sketches, and didn't go in this direction at all. But if you want to download the exercise files and build that one out, or for that matter, what we're going to be building out here, that's fine as well. So this is where my sketching starts. Sometimes it's symmetrical, like this one. This is going to be the artwork we build out. And even at this point, I didn't even wait until I had the black and white done, but this is kind of shading I was thinking I could build to go with that. And you'll see that coming up. But I do a refined sketch where I'll take it into Photoshop and just clean it up, make sure it's perfectly vertical, not slightly off or whatever. And this is what I end up with. And I always label my layers as I'm working. So this is the refined sketch. And in this case, we're going to set it for about 15%, like that. Now, some of the previous videos I've done and put out on my YouTube channel, I've talked about some newer features. And a lot of those newer features were in the update to Illustrator 2023 and the latest version 2024. Now, I'm not on 2024 yet recording because I'm still having some trouble installing some of the plugins I depend on every day. And so once I do have that, you'll see it'll be 2024. But the one I want to point out, the feature that is the contextual menu bar that pops up down here when you have anything selected, because we have a raster image selected. It gives you shortcuts like, do you want to image trace it? Do you want to mask image? Do you want to lock it? Do you want to bring it into Photoshop? Whatever. And you might like the contextual taskbar menu because when you're working with vector shapes, and I'll leave it on just for a little bit to show you what I mean, it might help you and give you shortcuts that, for me, I have keyboard shortcuts set up to do it, and I've been working that way for like well over almost 20 years now. So I still use those because it's muscle memory preference. But once we have this set, we'll lock it. And what we're going to do is we're going to build right on top of it on the build layer here. And let's go ahead and start doing that. Actually, the first thing I want to do is I'm going to drop a guide just down the center of where this is, because this will be symmetric like that. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to establish some of these tolerances in here. And I want this width that goes above the eye, kind of forming the top of the brow of, I guess they call it the brow of RAM. I want this width to be the same width as this going down here, the same ultimate width of the bottom part of the nose that goes into the mouth. And because I'm going to use that same width, even though my drawing's not perfect, I'm going to use that same width here on the inset of the ear. So the negative space will match this positive width. And I'll use it also up here as I create the details on the horn. Now, the horns of a ram have a lot of ridges in it. And so I've kind of graphically simplified that, or deduced it from a complex form from a photograph into a simple drawing to kind of tell that story without having to show all that detail, because it's a lot more detailed on their horn, and I've iconified it of sorts. So let's go ahead and establish that. We'll go to our graphic styles here, and I have all these set up, and these are at different sizes. So I'll click this one, and we'll just go ahead and create a rectangle like that. And you can see the contextual menu bar will pop up even on a vector shape like this at the very bottom. And because it's vector, it'll give you some shortcuts. Do you want to edit the path? Do you want to use, in this case, like grid repeat, or you can do radial repeat as shown here, or it gives you a button. This button is duplicate. So you've seen me when I select a shape, I'll go clone it, Command C, Command F, because that's what my F3 key does. I just hit F3 and it creates a copy of that shape. Well, now with the contextual menu bar, if you don't have keyboard shortcuts set up, you could just hit this duplicate button and it'll do the exact same thing. So in that respects, it's kind of cool. But as I explained in a previous video, you can move this over here, but when you create a new shape like this, it's going to keep it there. So unfortunately, I wish you could change the orientation positioning to something like this. So when I click, so if I clicked on this, it would be there. If I clicked on this, it would be in the same position on that shape. I just don't like that you can't do that. And until they fix that, for me, it kind of gets in the way. So I'm just going to go up here to Window, go to Contextual Taskbar, and I'm going to hide it because I don't like it covering things. So my preference, but you might love it, in which case, by all means, use it. I think you should. So we're going to establish this thickness here. And this one, I'm always working in points. So if you ever want to change what kind of measuring format you're using, just right-click on the rule and you can change it. You could go to inches, but I've always found over the years, points are based off of the metric system, and it's a lot easier to think in points. I've worked this way so long, I actually think in points. So with this selected, if I go up here, you can see the width of this is 5.3824. Well, I'm going to bump this up because I want it to be a whole number like that. And I think that will probably, maybe 6. That might be just a little too wide, so we'll go 6. And so this is the tolerance I'm establishing for this design, is I'm going to use 6 there. So let's go ahead and copy that. Once again, if you use the contextual menu bar, you can hit duplicate. And the first thing I want to do is I want to establish the angle on the side of the face like that. I'm going to make another copy. This will bring up over here to create that part going from the eye to the nose like this. And then I'll grab elliptical shape. This is what I'll make the eye from. Doesn't need to be a perfect circle. I don't think it should be here. So I'm going to do something like this. And I might go in on this just so it goes into this other area. We're not going to see that eventually. And then I'll go ahead and make a copy of this. And this is where I'm just trying to create the base here. So I'm kind of establishing the angle of the eyes, maybe just a little more like, see how it's snapping to that angle? This is where I'll go in and I'll go Command U to turn off Smart Guides, and that way it won't snap on anything. So it'll let me kind of figure out exactly where I want that to be. I'm going to take these and just drag it up over here. I'm creating basically a throwaway shape. I'll take these two elements here, and let's go ahead and go to the Pathfinder, unite those. This is on top. Make sure it's on top of everything. Select this shape, and I'll do that. So now we have most of those fundamental shapes there. I'll take this, and I'm going to use that for no other reason than to trim the bottom of this shape like that. I think that'll work. Let's go ahead and focus on the top here. And I think on this one, I'm going to create what I call a scallop shape, which I start with the circle and I round it. If you don't have the dynamic corners, which is part of Vector Scribe by Astute Graphics, just start with the square. And then you can just select these two and round it to get the same thing. So just start with the square, not a circle, and you can do it. Now, I love Astute because I can take a circle and turn it into a square, or I can go here and turn this back into a square like that. So it goes either way. Adobe engineers created their rounding after 6 years of Astute having rounding in Illustrator before it was native to Illustrator. And well, the dirty little secret, they tried to buy Astute Graphics twice, but they didn't want to cover all of their employees' pension, which I thought was kind of lame for $1 billion company not to do that. And I give a lot of props to the owner, Nick, who decided he wasn't going to sell, and kind of all of his employees who helped him build the company. He thought they deserved better, so he didn't sell it. They're still developing it on their own, doing a great job. And that's why I love supporting them and using their tools, because they're designed by people who understand the creative process. Okay, so we have the shape that'll make the upper eye. We know this is a 6, so I'll go to Path, I'll go to Offset, we'll punch in 6, like that. And I think that'll work. I'll go ahead and bring this to the front, make sure it's on top, like that. I'll minus front, and then I'm just going to do another throwaway shape where I do this. By the way, when I'm working like this, I'm usually have Netflix going or Prime, whatever show I'm watching. Deep Space Nine for the 8th time. Yes, I love Deep Space Nine. It's awesome. I just wish they'd digitize it and, redo all the special effects for HD. That would be so awesome. There we go. So we have that inside shape. Now on this one, I will use the corner widget to round that corner. And on this one, I don't want it to be a perfect 1/4 of a circle. So this is where making sure I have Smart Guides on, so it'll snap to that and slide up on itself on the path. And then once I have it, I can do that, and it gives just a better angle, I feel. Then on this one, we could do the corner widget to round that off like that. So on some things, I'll round it as I'm building. It just makes it a lot easier. Oops, clicked on something I shouldn't. Okay, now we're going to focus on creating the element that makes up the inside of of this head. So I'm going to do this. Maybe a little lower like that. I'm going to clone this. Why am I doing that? Because I'm going to do an intersect of these two shapes. And then I'll take this and I'll just round it so it goes right into that side. So I always try to do it the easiest way I can possibly do it. Then this is going to be a little weird, but it doesn't have to be clean as long as it's going to work great. And I'm building this. Then I'll snap it to this since I already figured out that angle. And probably right about there. I'll go here. This I left there just to get that angle of the side of the goat's face looking good. Then I'll bring this down here. Like that. We'll go back into this. I'm going into isolation mode, so I can put it right about, I'm thinking right about there. I might come back and adjust that, we'll see. And then I'll close the shape, get out of isolation mode. That served its purpose over there. I can select this, round that to get that curve, and we're going to see this. And the reason why I didn't make this a perfect 90 degrees down here, because I want this to be a subtler, more elegant kind of curve. And so, you know, I'm not going to do that yet. Let me think. You know what? I think I'm going to... By the way, the way I'm showing you how to extend a path along the same angle is the way I did it before I used a plugin. I actually use a Astute Graphic plugin to do this, where I can hold the, here I'll just show you it, the Path Scribe tool, and then if I select an anchor and with the Path Scribe tool I hold L down, then, oops, let's do that again. Wrong one. Grab it. And then if I, okay, we're not going to do that because, of course, when I think of something, then I can't remember how to do it. I got that command wrong. Nick, if you're watching this, stop laughing at me. Okay. We'll just add an anchor. I'll select these two. And because we have smart guides turned on, it'll tell you when you're hovering over an anchor. And with that turned on, you can slide it right down that path. And I'm just doing that just to extend the bottom of this shape like this. I'll get rid of that. And then what we're going to do, I guess, is we'll just trim it off flat on the bottom. Keep the side angled, of course, like that. I think that'll work better. Okay, so we're going to take this shape, and... Oh, you know what would work better? I just realized we need another shape in here. So we have most of it already built. So I'm going to do this. And we'll take a copy of this shape. And we'll just intersect this. That gets, let's go ahead and fill this so you can see what I'm doing. So I created that shape. Well, why did I create that shape? Because I want to be able to take this and take this and take... Actually, let's just take, we already rounded this, so I'm going to trim the top one. So it's just one side. Take that, and there we go. We'll fuse it all together. Now, why did I... This is the ugly part of the creative process, because I'm talking, but I'm not thinking about what I'm doing. I keep making mistakes. So, sorry, I'm getting a little nervous. Once again, raw and unrehearsed, because I'd have this dialed in if it was for a course, for example. Let's go ahead and clone this and bring it forward. And then I'll take this shape and I'll trim it. That way we get that inside shape like that. And then this needs to go to the inside of that shape. There we go. That'll look correct now. So we'll select that, select this, and we'll fuse it together. We'll send it to the back like that. We can take this shape and actually on the cut in at the top of the eye, we don't need all this. So we're just going to lop that off. And then we can take these two, unite them, make sure they're a compound path just so you can see it's sitting on top. And these are going to cut into that shape. I obviously don't want the fill on it. I want to be able to see what I'm doing like that. And oh, look, another goof up. Okay. Okay, well, this brings up a thing. This is a snapping thing. So if I go Command Z, I have to go back. It snapped to this anchor point when actually it should be snapping to that anchor point. That's the one part. It's like at times snapping doesn't work, and so you have to zoom in to try to get it to work. And then at times it works, but then unless you're zoomed in, it snaps to the wrong thing. So it's kind of like damned if you do, damned if you don't. So we'll just redo that, and we'll trim this shape like that. Take these two shapes, unite them, just so you can see it's on top like this. Let's zoom out, zoom back in a little bit. Now with that on top, now it should look correct. But notice you get these extra anchor points. Well, I'm going to show you how I kind of clean stuff up as I'm working, because you can see we have extra anchor points up here. And unfortunately, you can only do this with the plugin. But it works so great. So what I would do is I'd select this, and I go here under the Vector Scribe plugin, and we're going to use Reposition Point Tool. This was a feature I requested years ago, and they added it. And we'll just drag it. It'll snap to a tangent, let go. And now I'll select this, and I'm going to go Smart Remove. And it'll smart remove, and it cleans it up. I use that methodology all the time. You can see we have one in here that we could remove to clean it up like that. And we have some extra ones right here. And I'm going to go ahead and clean that up too. Let's get rid of the fill. Everything else I think looks pretty good. So we can keep marching forward. Let's go down to the bottom because this is where I do want to round this, so we'll go ahead and round it. That way its chin at the bottom comes to a nice round. I think we need to zoom out just a little bit. There we go. Now we'll go ahead and focus on the detail of the nose and the mouth, and I'll take a copy of this shape, and let's go ahead and select this. And if you go to Object Path, you can go to Add Anchor Point. When you do this, it'll add one anchor point in between two anchor points. So we have 4 points right now. If we click this, it'll add 8. So you can see it's 8 now. And that's the way I do it for years, but Astute has a better method. If I click on this bottom path of this rectangular shape, it knows I'm associating that click with that path. I can go to the Path Scribe tool and go add points to selected segments. Do you want 2? No, I want 1. Click OK. It only adds 1 point. Then I can drag it down here, snap it. Now it's centered like that. This will become the middle part for, I don't know, whatever that divot is in between the bottom of the nose and the mouth on a goat. I don't even remember what they call it on a human, let alone on a goat. Now, this width on the side of the face, I want it to match the width of the nose, so I need to figure this out now. So this is why I didn't throw this shape away. I'll bring this back like this. And because it still has the bounding box associated with the kind of the angle I rotate at, I can just pull this out now like this, and you can see the width is telling me 11.5. That's a nice whole number. Let's see if I can get that again. Boom, like that. So if we go to transform, well, it'll only show you as you're pulling it out since it's not at a 90-degree angle. But if I go like this, here's another great plugin. It's called the orientation tool, the orient tool, something like that, orient tool. If I click on this, click here, go over here, click here, it'll allow me click, and then I can hold shift down and it'll put it back into a 90-degree orientation. Now if I select this and go here, the width, oh, you can see I'm 0.1 point off. So in this case, I think, let's do 11. I might just stick with 11 on this instead of 11.5, like that. And then we can bring this over and click on rotate to set the orientation, and then just slide this over. Make sure if you have smart guides turned on, Command U, then you'll be able to snap like this, and it's really helpful. So I think 11 will be a good number to use, just so we don't confuse ourselves. Let's get rid of that one. Okay, now I'm going to establish kind of the angle of his nose because I like it in my drawing. I don't really want that to change. And something right about there I think will be fine. And then I'm going to snap it to the guide to trim that side, and then this will go straight down like that. I'll take these two. These are on top. I'll unite them. Whenever you use the Pathfinder method, just remember it's only going to group it. So if you're doing edits, it's always best to have this a compound path. Then I can select this, trim it, and that gives me the shape I need. All I'll do here is actually, now that I did that, once again, I'm getting ahead of myself. I want to go in on this and just nudge this over off center a bit. And it'll make sense. Why did I do that? Well, because now I'll do what I did previously where I'll select this and I'll go minus front to trim it. But I want this inside part of the nose to overlap because I want this to round out, but I don't want it to go right into the middle. It'll be too sharp. And so I want it to be a little more subtle. So I'm having it overlap a bit. And then it'll be consumed by this shape and the opposing side. Then I'll take this one and I'll add a nice round to that. And then we can go all the way down to here. We don't need this to go here. So I'll just select these three, slide it up. Oh, we have extra anchors on this. Oh, I used that one where I added the anchors to show you how Illustrator did it. No biggie. That's all going to be consumed anyway. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. The mouth, super easy. We'll just go to the middle, snap, do a circle, bring it down. I think it needs to be bigger. And we're just doing it until it aligns with our drawing. That's why drawing is so important, to work out your shape before you actually build it, because it just becomes a roadmap. Can you make improvements as you go? Yeah, I always do that. It never matches my drawing 100% exact, but if you get it pretty close and you think in shapes, it's just going to make building go faster. So then I'll just take a rectangle like this, lop off the top. Now the mouth is already reflected over. All we're going to reflect over is this one, so I'll clone it. I'll go to the reflect tool, find a central anchor point, reflect it over. And now this is where I can take all those elements of the top of the nose, the middle part, whatever they call that on the nose, and his mouth, and all these I can just go unite like that. And then ultimately I'll come back into this area since we had a curve here and it curves here. This is going to look better if it just has a nice kind of curve going on one side and the other side, just to make it look more elegant as it gets down there. So I think that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and focus on the ear, and then we'll do the horns and the detail. So I'm just going to create a rectangle. I'm going to snap it to this because I want it to be the same curve as the top of his eye. These are those nice little continuity things that make a graphic all tie together really good. I'll snap it after I rotate it. So this will give me that angle of his ear here. I'll bring that up right about there. And I'll just clone this, bring this up here, put the corner in the top tip like that. Put this here, and then I can just slide this because I have smart guides on, Command U to toggle those on and off like that. And well, that's interesting. Why did I accidentally? Hold on. I just want to make sure I didn't mess something up. Let's go ahead. There we go. And then like that. Then I'll slide that one down there. And we'll put that one all the way out there. Now, notice this doesn't fall as far down. That's fine. I can come in. Actually, I can just grab this shape, go here, and let's see, we'll do it right about there. And this is on top, like that. And then I'll just go ahead and unite these two pieces. And then all I have to do is establish the angle here, like that, trim that off. I'm going to use the same, let's go ahead and copy this. Should have kept a copy of that angle, but I used it to determine the size. So now we have that. In case I need it again, I'm going to save it like that. And we're going to figure out this inner detail here. I might move it up just a little bit like that. And then we'll take a copy of this one. I'll go up here, snap it there, go to the rotate tool, set the rotation, orientation, grab the path, and bring it down till it snaps. So now I know it's at that angle I want. Go like this. I'll go ahead and just unite those two, go in, and this is where I'll just select all the anchors of what I don't need. And because it's all 90 degrees, I can just remove them. Oops, would help if I don't remove the ones I need, like that one. Remove that. So we got that. And this is why I like Astute's rounding plugin, because I can go reference other detail that I like, such as maybe it's this curve, and I want to match that radius just to tie in some of that continuity to another part, and I can go up here and I can do that. Now notice it puts the center point of that round radius here, so I'm just going to match that, and this is why I use the plugin from Astute, because it makes doing that a lot easier. You can't really do that with the corner widget. If you wanted to do this, you'd probably be better off with the corner widget to just create a path, round that path, set the thickness to the standard we're using here, which I think was 6, and then you could do it that way. So it's just about thinking in shapes and building in shapes. So now I'm going to make a copy of this, and I'm just going to pull that over. I'll go ahead and fill it just so you can see what I'm doing. We don't need all these. Get rid of those. So just so I can trim the inner detail of the ear, so I know it's at the same angle as the edge, I'll bring it in right about there, select this, trim it. I have that inner detail set. I'll go ahead and grab the dynamic corners because I want to use the same rounding amount that I have. Let's see, I'll use this one here, like that. And now with this on top of the ear shape, we'll minus front. And then I'll grab this corner, the rounding tool, dynamic corners. Now, you don't have to use dynamic corners. You could use the corner widget in Illustrator around all these, but unless if these were all going to be the same kind of radius on the rounds, then you could select these three and go like this. And that doesn't look bad, but I've already established some rounds down here, so I tend not to do that a lot because I want to retain that continuity. So I'll go here, then I'll apply that round to this one, then I'll go up here. And this one I think would look better being larger. So this is a case where I would round this one like this, but then I go back to Astute's plugin, click on it to copy those attributes and apply it to the edge of the ear here. So that's why I use both of them, because it just helps it helps me get to where I want to go with what I'm building. Okay, so now what we need to do is I'm going to go ahead and extend this up because we're going to create the outer profile of the shape of the, oh, you know what? You know what would be the easiest way to do it? It wouldn't be doing it the way I'm showing you right here. We're just going to drag this over, because what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select this shape. I know this is 11 that we're using as the tolerance, so I'll take this and I'll go here to path, to offset, and we're going to punch in 11. I think it was 11. Maybe it's more than that. I can't remember now. Let's see. No, it was 11, like that. But notice it wigs out because that's not an ideal shape to kind of offset from. That's okay. We'll just place an anchor down here. I'll go in here, select these, and select this one, slide it on the path just so it goes up within the middle here. And once it's consumed by the other shapes, you won't see all that mess. So it's okay to be messy as you build, as long as your end result is still precise and looks nice. So there's that. So we'll come back to this because I'm not going to deal with that now. I want to focus on the horn and how do I create those shapes. What would you think would be the shape to create the horn? Do you want to build it by point by point? You could. It wouldn't be too hard. But I think we could do most of this with the elliptical shape. So, by the way, I have elliptical shape here, but I'm holding Option down so it goes from the inside out. And I just kind of eyeball where I think it should start. And then I'll go in here and rotate it. You know, that's pretty close, like that. Then I'll just move it if I have to. I think right about there looks pretty good, but over here it doesn't look right. That's okay, because this is where I'll just ignore the geometry and I'll just finesse it by hand like that. So this looks like a, I don't know, like a weird squashed egg of sorts, but that's okay because none of this is going to show. It's just this arch, and we want that nice and clean. I think that looks pretty good. I'll try to reuse this, so let's make a clone of that. And then that's obviously too big, so let's size it down. And you know what? I'm just going to start with a new oval. And probably right about there. Then we'll go ahead. I'm kind of watching this over here until I get it where I think it looks good. Something like that. So you can see my drawing obviously isn't perfect. That's okay, although I don't think that's going to look too hot. So let's... So on this one, we're going to have to finesse it a little bit because, okay, I think that's looking okay. Then I'll overlap it over here, kind of figure out the arch on the back side. And if you ignore the bottom part, you know, I think this is looking okay. Okay, this one, I think we need to overlap that one more. So I'm going to bring this. This is where I'll go Command U to turn off that so it doesn't snap. So sometimes smart guides can get in your way. By the way, when you look at the little inset, it's like, because I'm leaning forward, paying attention, I'm not like falling asleep or whatever. I just noticed that. Okay. Like that. And I think the arch on the outside, the inside, I think those look good. The reason why I paid attention here is I don't want an anchor like right there or right there. This will just make one anchor with a nice into the arch. So that's why I was focusing on that. Let's make sure this is on front or above the other one we built. Like that, it is. So we'll select both and we'll go minus front like that. And then we can just trim off all this waste down here that we don't need, like this. Select that and do that. Now, it's usually at this phase, as I'm going, that I'll just select everything minus the guide. I'll clone it, Command-C, Command-F, group it, and then I'll just move a copy to my X layer, just to have vector insurance, if you want to call it that. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to focus on these notches, and I'm not going to worry that, let's zoom in here, that this part isn't coming right to where my drawing is, because ultimately I'll round from once these shapes are like united together, I'll round this so it'll kind of fill in that area with a nice round. So I didn't want to have to build that manually. Usually as I'm going along like this, I'll just sample the line work I want to keep like that. So it's all the same weight. I think this is going to look pretty good. I'm also going to add a round down here, but I'll do that once again after I connect everything. I'm not going to do it now. Let's just focus on creating this detail. And this is where you might go, well, how are you going to pull it? Well, you could do it with a path if you want to, but I want these all to be kind of the same tolerances. And the way I found it easier at times is to just think, once again, I keep saying this all the time, but it's so true, think in shapes. So just ignore these rounds here, ignores the rounds here. Those are easy. Those are super easy. You don't have to worry about those. Pay attention to the arch of all these inset cuts on this horn. And once again, we'll just go ahead and create an elliptical shape like this. I'll bring it over and I'll just bring up here. Let's zoom in a little bit. Okay, there we go. So all I've done is create elliptical shape, kind of defining this bottom edge. This could probably be a little wider like that. And maybe we adjust the angle ever so slightly like that. That looks good. Now, what is the thickness we're using here? Well, that was 6. So what we can do is we can go offset and we can just do 6. Boom. Now we've established that. I think that'll be fine. That'll make up this part up here. But what I want to do is I want to create this bump out on this side. So how would I do that? Well, I would take a copy of this shape and I would just bring it down here like that, right about there. And I think that'll work. We're going to make some copies of these shapes now. I'm going to go ahead and take this shape and clone it. So we have a copy, Command-C, Command-F. And that's going to sit on top of all the other shapes. But we're just going to create, oops, push it to the back instead of front. We'll select this. We're just going to make a giant donut. And just so it doesn't get lost, we'll color these blue like that. And all I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to create another throwaway shape just to isolate the section we want, like that. So I'll take this, and we'll go intersect just to get that. And that'll make up the white notch that comes in. And now these two shapes, which are the remaining shapes, this one being on top, we'll just select this and we'll go minus front. Now, none of this on this side matters because it's going to be consumed with this shape. We just need to pay attention to where it bumps out. And so that's what we're going to focus on next, is how much do we want it to bump out? Well, I don't want it to be the same tolerance as the notch, which is 6, but maybe 3 might be good, half of that. So if we go path, we go offset, 6 is too much. Let's see what 3 looks like. Maybe even 4, because it sticks out a little more. We'll go 4. Yeah, I think 4 will work. And just so we don't get these confused with the other ones, let's just color that this color. And all I'm going to do here is I'm going to create a shape kind of like this. And then direct select these and drag these out kind of like that, because we're going to use that to edit the end of the shapes that are going to kind of bump out outside of the shape of the horn. Now, on these shapes here, all I'm going to do is take this horn shape, clone it, and I'm going to direct select these anchors because I don't need these to get in the way. And once again, this looks ugly, but it doesn't matter because we only need this curve on the inside here. And let's go ahead and color this one green. And on this one, we'll go to path and we'll go to offset and maybe 11. Might be a little too far. No, actually 11 looks really good, actually. Let's get rid of that one like that. And we're going to use this shape. Let's go ahead and just isolate the area we want right here. Boy, the sound booth that I record in, it's getting kind of hot. I'm kind of have beads of sweat going down my head, and I go, I hope that's not visible on camera. So we'll take that. We'll get rid of it. Now we're going to use that to edit the inside. So I'm going to take this notch and edit it with this. But before I do, I really like this detail I have going. So all I'm going to do is, well, actually, let's do that. Let's go ahead and make a copy of this. Make sure it's on top, and we'll cut that. And then we can direct select these, and with the corner widget, we get that nice rounding there. Now on this one, well, I'm not going to do it. Well, let's do this. Let's make a copy of this. And we're just going to move it up until it's right about in the position I think would look good, like that. And now I can take this shape, which is going to edit the other shape, make a copy so we can use it on the other ones, trim off this end, and this is where I would take these two corners and I'd add that round to get that bump out on that side. And I think that looks really cool, and I think it's going to work really good as well. So let's go ahead and figure out the positioning on all these. So I'll clone this one, and then I'm going to bring this up here, and I'm going to turn Smart Guides on because I'm going to try to snap this. Oh, good. It snaps right there. And then we can go to rotate, click on that, and then I can rotate it into position. And I'm going to double check this one. Let's go ahead and snap that. So that was pretty much close. Go here, isolate this anchor point, snap it to the edge here, and like that. And then we'll use rotate to rotate it into the right perspective we have, like that. Then I'll go ahead and copy this last one. Maybe this one is getting a little smaller. I kind of like my drawing rather than just sticking with that path. And we'll rotate it based off of there. I think that looks good. So that's how I'd rotate all these into position. Let's go ahead and just select these shapes. We'll unite them all together so we don't do them all independently. Some of these are going off the other side. So we'll just trim this side since it doesn't matter, like that. Make sure they remain a compound path. Then I can select this shape, bring it to the front, select the shape we just turned into a compound, and go minus front to trim that side. Notice it's always going to divert back to a group state. I wish that could be a preference where it always retains compound nature. For whatever reason, Illustrator, well, I know why. They don't use it, so they don't understand why that's important. Okay, so now that we have those trimmed, we can go back to each of these and just round it to get that nice kind of bump out with the rounding, like this, using the corner widget. And we'll do this one here, again, using the corner widget. And we have all of these rounds already set on that side, so we can actually, if you didn't want to get rid of this, I could just move it up to the X layer. So we have all the detail in place. So all we have to do now is just go ahead and consume them. So we'll consume them. That sounds a little weird. Take all these bump outs and the horn, and we'll just go unite. So now they have the nice bump outs there. And then on all of these, there is one thing I need to do before we minus front from the horn shape. And that is we want to snap to here because we don't want to mess up anything. So we'll find that anchor. This is where the creative process, you want to pay attention to these details. Because if I just did it the way I have it, it might work, but many times they'll add anchor points you don't need, which can cause issues at times. So we'll just unite those just to show you they're on front. We'll color them here. I'll take this, I'll go minus front like that. Once again, it's going to be a group. Change it to a compound, make sure it's on top of the horn shape. It is. We'll select that, and we'll just go minus front. Now, as you build, it doesn't matter how precise you are. When you build in Illustrator, there's just no way of getting around it. You will have redundant points. And I remember years ago, I was at Adobe Max, and I saw the guy who headed up the Illustrator team. And I said, okay, I got a question for you. What's up with all these redundant points that are created at times? I go, I never once in 15 years of using Macromedia freehand ever ran into redundant points. It didn't create them. His argument says it's because Illustrator is too precise. And I'm like, no, it's just sloppy. That's why. So why am I bringing that up? Because this has redundant points. Where? I don't know. There's nothing in Illustrator that says, hey, you got a redundant point here. You just know you'll have redundant points if you use Astute Graphics plugin, because I have this Path Scribe panel open. Notice it has this. So it's saying this shape you have selected, yeah, you have redundant points. Redundant points meaning one anchor is right in the same location as another one, and they're kind of piggybacking on one another. How do you fix it? Well, there is no way in Illustrator to fix it natively. That's the issue. Now, well, I should point out, under the Pathfinder palette, if you go here to Pathfinder options, they have a remove redundant points, but it only works on 90-degree angles or straight shapes. It won't work on something like this. So even though they have it, they'll say, oh, we have that. We have remove redundant points. It obviously didn't catch it because you can see here it's warning. We have 73 points. So let's click this to fix it to see how many we had. So I'm going to click this. And so we had 2 redundant anchor points. Where exactly were those at? I have no idea. So I just wanted to show you that. I think it's important to you to understand that and know that. Let's go ahead and focus down here. I'm going to bring this up like that because ultimately on this, it only matters where it comes to the middle. So we just do that. Okay, now let's go ahead. It's a goat. He needs his goatee, right? Okay. Let's give him a nice goatee. We'll start from the center. I'll just use elliptical shape. Actually, let's go to another arch by points tool, because this one, it'd be really nice if they brought a feature like this natively into Illustrator, because I think it would help people build more precisely. You shouldn't have to always use the pen tool, in my opinion. And this is, it just makes the pen tool look like a big hassle when you can build a nice, perfect curve that easy. You know, that's all I'm talking about. It's just a really, man, when I discovered this tool, I had the plugin for literally 6 years and never bothered to click down past this. I always use this for other things. Then, you know, okay, I'll admit, these two, haven't even tried. Not even completely sure what they do. I probably should, because I'd probably find more stuff I could use. So once I find some that use, I kind of stick with it. And sometimes that's a good habit. Sometimes, make sure you're off the tool. We want a rectangle here, and I'll create that. Select the middle part of the goatee, intersect it, select this. Well, we'll unite these like that. There we go. I think that'll work good. But before I move any further, I'm just going to select this minus the guide, clone it, group it, and move it to my layer just to save it like that. I can get rid of all these build shapes. And now we'll go ahead and reflect it, create our base black and white, do some final rounding to polish up and button up the final design. So let's go ahead and take all the shapes we need to reflect, the ear, the horn, the face. We don't need to touch the nose and the goatee. And we'll, with those selected, we'll clone them, Command-C, Command-F. If you want to use the duplicate key in the contextual taskbar, you can use that. We'll go to the Reflect tool, find a central anchor point, make sure Smart Guides is turned on, Command-U. Once it says you're on a central anchor point, click and then just pull down. You can reflect everything over. And, ooh, I just noticed something that I would have messed up if I united these. Notice this overlaps that. I don't want that. So I'm going to go like that. And we'll do the same thing over here. Like that. Everything else, I think, will work as is. So we're going to select everything on the outside. So his head, his goatee, and his ears. The central images or shapes we don't need to worry about right now. And we'll go unite. So that unites everything. Notice when we did that, we created some more redundant points. We have 192. Let's click this to see. Oh, so we had four redundant anchor points. It resolved that. So I'm always checking that as I'm going along because I fix it as I go. Now we can go up here to the top, and we had this part that didn't really match our drawing. This is where I'll probably take this curve and test it to see if it looks good up here and click. And I think that looks pretty good. So I'll put it on the left-hand side like that. And then I'll go here. I like this curve, maybe going into, or maybe this one. Let's try. Yeah, that one looks good. And we'll apply it to that side. So those are the kind of curves I think add a lot. I actually think we should put a little curve here as well. So we'll go like this, like that. And we'll put one over here. Like that. We'll take the, oops, let's do the inside of the face. These two shapes need to be united. And then this on top, bring it to the front. Select this and minus out of that. So we create a shape that's just like this. And it's going to sit on the the background here. Now, this is where I'll go in and do some subtle rounding. I don't like these coming to a dagger sharp point because in real life they don't. They're kind of dull and rounded. But on his ears, I'll put a nice little round there. I'll go here, put the same round there, apply it over here as well. I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and zoom in on the nose and the mouth because these are pretty good, but I think these need little subtle rounds here. Oops, copy this. This is why I love Astute's plugin. And once again, you can do these subtle rounds. Actually, let's undo that. If we just selected these and use the corner widget, then we can just do those subtle rounds like that. Either way, it doesn't matter, whatever you prefer. We'll go ahead and put some subtle rounds here, like that. And then we're going to add the same subtle rounds that we put here on the goatee. And I think we got an extra anchor point there. Ah, see? So even Adobe will create it'll create redundant anchor points, and it doesn't even tell you in Astute's plugin at times. So don't think you're doing anything wrong. You're not. It's just the way Adobe software, specifically Illustrator, is. So on this case, I think I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to go ahead and create a new shape. Didn't want that. I just want an arch. And I'm going to make it a little, well, that's interesting. Why is it doing that? There we go. I'm just going to make the goatee a little longer. I just think that will look better anyway. And I'll go ahead and reflect it. Select these two, group them, double click to go into isolation mode. I don't need the guide, join it. Now I know there is no redundant anchor point there, like this. Get out of isolation mode. I'll select this shape. Oh, you can see I accidentally copied the guide. This is another reason I don't know why guides are considered objects in Illustrator. You get them embedded in your art and you go to copy it to another file and it says outside bounding box, whatever, and you can't paste it. It just causes problems. So we're going to make a copy of the goatee middle shape and bring it up here just so we can always go back to that if we need to. Now I'll select the outer perimeter, unite it, and I think that's going to look a lot better. Let's go ahead and turn off our refined sketch and we'll color this black. Get rid of the outline, copy it because we want to go behind this shape. We'll go ahead and fill this with white, get rid of the outline here, and go Command B, paste it, and I think that looks pretty cool for, actually there's one thing I would do. Let's go into his eyes. This is where I think these coming to a point would look better if we round those off like that, and even add some subtle rounds there. Yeah, that looks a lot better. And maybe even make this go right into that angle. So that's how I'd improve things with rounding. That looks way better. Okay, I'm glad I did that. So now that we have the base black and white done, this is where I like to do some shading. So I have this drawn shading here. And if I move this up and turn it on, you can see it was based off of my original sketch, so it's close enough to give me everything I want, but we're just going to go ahead and build this shading. So I'll turn on this layer, and this is why I keep a temp layer, because as I'm working, I'll just go in, we'll call this Shade Shapes, and this will be super easy because it's just symmetric, so all we have to do is one. And we're going to try some here. We'll go to Graphic Styles. We'll select a style. I'll snap to an anchor here. Go up here. And I'm going to go right about there. That, and close the shape, drag this down. Now I'm going to come back and make these, but I want to do the other detailing. I might adjust this. Let's bring that up further like that. I think that'll look better. Then I'll use the corner widget to establish. And try reposition this just a little. Yeah, it looks better. I just want that anchor to fall off the side. It just look cleaner. That looks good. Okay, now we'll zoom in on his mouth because I'll use the elliptical tool to create. I want to knock out some of this. Something like, that's too flat or too round, I mean. Something like that. There. I think that'll work. And now we'll go intersect. So this is how I shape build, not to just create positive, but create the shape that I'm going to end up editing this shape. So I'll knock that out just to create a nice highlight there. And then we also want a highlight. Well, do I want a highlight there? No. No highlight there. And then here, actually, let's go up here. We'll do the eye here. We'll start right there. Go here. This is that plugin by Astute. Like that. I think that'll work. Maybe a little bigger. Drag it away, snap this to that anchor, and I need to adjust the angling. So let's go to rotate, focus there, rotate it down. I think that'll work. Bring that to front, select our shape, minus that out. And then the last thing I want to do is, I think this will work. Let me try it. I'm just going to go like this. Snap it to that anchor. There. Get the same thickness there. Go down here. Go right here. Let's sample this. Yeah, I think that'll work. Then you can select all these with the corner widget. We're just creating a pill shape that's going to make that highlight here. The light is kind of shining down straight from the top. And the more I look at this, I'm just not sure about this one. Well, I'll show you a different plugin. The same plugin by Astute, but this circle by 3 points. This is kind of cool. If we snap here, 1 point, we go over here, find that, snap there, and then drag to the 3rd point here, you can position and create a perfect circle like that. And I think this is going to work better. Let's see if I can round this. Oh yeah. This is going to work better. Okay, we'll go like that. Then I can select this. Go like this, and then I'll just scale it to get the other side. Now I can't make up my mind if I like the previous one or this one. I think I like this one better. Okay, I'm just going to pull it aside. Sometimes I just have to look at it. This is the part that makes me nuts about doing these videos, is because I tend to like to set things aside, come back later and look at it. I think this will look better. I think it'll unify better like that. Bring it to the front, select this, minus, oops. What did we do? It's a compound. Why is it doing that? Oh, wrong layer. There you go. Duh. Okay. Rookie mistake. Yes, I even make those. Okay, now we have this pill shape. We're going to go ahead and add to this because we need to use this shape we just created with this pill shape, unite it, bring it to the front, and this will be editing our shape. There'll be the shading like that because we don't need that area there. I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and turn off our drawn shading. Select this. And just so you can see it, let's go ahead and color this. Instead of white, we'll color it that. We'll select our shape and we'll go intersect. This trims everything off. Right now it's a group, so you want to make sure it's a compound. We're going to go ahead and copy it. Go to the reflect tool, find a central anchor point down on his chin, reflect it over. This is where I'll do something here. I'll double click into here. I'll go to add an anchor point there and I'll purposely overlap it because I found it helps at times to avoid those redundant anchor points. Not always, but sometimes. So we'll unite these. Now we have, well, there you go. We have redundant, so 102. So we had 2 extra anchor points somewhere. So I'm always trying to clean those up. Now, once we have this, we can color it. I don't know. Let's color it a gray. See what it looks like. Like that. And I think that looks pretty good. Now, wait a minute. Did I just notice a mistake? Well, that's interesting. How did I do that? Okay, hold on. I might have made a mistake. Let's go here. And I'm going to go to really fine point like that. We'll go to key view, keyline view. No, that should be exact. Let's copy it. Go to reflect. Well, that's interesting. My, okay. Notice how it's off on the left-hand side? I must have reflected the nose wrong. I don't know how I did that, but whatever. We'll fix it. Okay, go back to preview mode. So somehow, wow. I have no idea how I did that. So we'll just take this. We'll give the give the go to nose job. We'll paste it. We'll color it blue so you can see what I'm doing here. All I'm going to do, it just seems to be this area. Everything else is working fine. So that's just kind of weird. I don't know how I managed to do that. Okay. So I'm just going to do this. Once again, I'm just editing the nose. Get rid of that, the problem area. Now I'm going to go ahead and make a copy, that is, the right part of the nose. And select that, go intersect. We'll color this yellow so you can see we have the new nose. I'm going to find a central anchor point down here and reflect it over. There we go. I don't know how I did that. Oh, I know. Snapping. I believe that what the feedback it gave me that it snapped really wasn't accurate. That's the snapping bug, and that's what it does. It comes back to bite you when you're working just like this. So I guess it's a good thing to show you that, because you're going to run into that. Just know you didn't really do anything wrong, other than you didn't zoom in like 5,000% and make sure a digital program should be acting precise, which it should, but they don't use it, so you get what you get. Okay, so now let's zoom out a little bit. We'll take the new nose, the face shape, we'll minus front like that. Then we'll go back to the shading shape we created, and let's try a different color in gray. Let's try that. And that looks pretty good. Now that I look at this, I'm kind of glad I went in the other direction. I'm going to show you, but actually, let's color this different. It should be a different color than black. Oh, maybe like dark brown. Ooh, that looks good with that. Now, for the context of what this was for, it'd probably be better to be black, because it's for black ale. Blue might even be cool. Let's check out a cool gray. Ooh, that's not bad either. I'll just leave it like that. That's kind of cool. So I just wanted to show you that. But I want to kind of walk you through the process of the other iteration that I actually went with when I created the design that I'll end up showing you in just a second, where it starts. It starts with reference, and I always try to find the best reference I can, usually a good stock photo, but that doesn't always work, because like this one, I want it looking straight on unless the photographer shot it that way. And I'll find a photograph that at least one side looks good. And so I'll just flip it in Photoshop. And so this was the reference I did for myself in Photoshop. And then from that, I start drawing until I work out. And this is the design I ultimately went with, that it's all a solid color with just a little tuft of white on his nose. I noticed there's this breed of ram, which is ibex is what they call them. Some have their whole face is a lighter white type color or lighter gray. But these other ones, they're darker, and then their nose area is kind of white. So that's what I focused on this. Again, built all my base shapes using those tolerances. So I established this tolerance, and this guided me for the same detailing I had on the inside of the ear, and ultimately also on the detail shapes that make up his horn. And I used the same methodology to create that I showed you in the other one I built. So if we zoom in on this, you can see all the final shapes that we kind of used to create that. And ultimately, the final art on this looked like this. This was the black and white. And again, it was for one of my clients, Deluxe Brewing. I've been with them since the owner got his brewmaster license, and his wife, who was a marketing director for another company. And it was just a two-people business. They didn't have hardly anything. And I made a deal with them years ago, and I said, I'll do all your design. I'll help you with your marketing. And then once you grow, then you can start paying me. And it's worked out really great. They're doing a great job. And this was one of the latest SKUs that I worked on, this Hellsbach, and it's a golden lager. And I just love how this came out. So when my client Deluxe Brewing first started their business, again, it was just small. So I always encourage designers, don't say no to something just because they don't have money. Look at the possibility. Don't let the client dictate it. You dictate it. You're the business owner of your own design business. If they say, well, this will give you good exposure if you just do work for us. Well, that's not really a client you want to work with. But when you know they have the possibility to grow a really good business and you can be there from the ground floor up, it's a great opportunity. So always consider that. Hopefully the methods I showcased will help you approach your own vector building. That's why I do all these movies, and improve your own workflow. That's the most important. Finding the way you prefer to work is always the best way to work, in my opinion. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below for this video. I love answering those. If you have suggestions, you can do that as well. Remember, the exercise files for each of my People of Process movies can always be found in the description below each video. So make sure to check that out. And the over-the-shoulder exercise files are always free for these movies specifically. Big thank you to those who have become members of this channel and support the development of new ideas. I really appreciate it. I can't do it without that type of support. But even a simple like on the channel or sharing this channel with a friend of yours, those are great ways to help me grow this channel. Now, in this year, I'm hoping by the end of this year, I'm going to reach 10,000 subscribers, and that would be awesome. Or members, I should say. I wish there was 10,000 subscribers. That'd be awesome. I'm not opposed to that, but anything you can do to help me support this channel, and get the word out. Share it with your coworkers. If you see somebody struggling with Illustrator, have them watch my videos. And I'd love to help people improve their skills. So until next time, thank you for watching People of Process. And as always, I hope this content helps you to improve your own creative process.